Dead by Daylight is one of those games people love to hate and people hate to love. But why exactly is that? Hello everybody, my name is Gambit and welcome to Infamous Synergy. If you're interested in more videos like this, it'd be cool if you took a second to like and subscribe. It always helps a bunch and we are nearing our goal of 4,000 subscribers. But other than that, let's talk about how to fix Dead by Daylight. I wanted to start off by saying try to imagine all these changes as a collective. It's better that way instead of just thinking about them individually. The goal of these changes isn't just to make Killer or Survivor stronger. These changes are about trying to fix the day-to-day frustrations with the game for both new and veteran players. And speaking of new players, let's talk about our first change, which is adding an in-depth training guide. With well over 30 playable killers, 200 plus perks, and plenty of different effects to go with them, I think a new training guide is well overdue. The game really should have a training guide to play as or against each killer available at all times. If you're struggling to understand what Sadako does, especially after 3 different reworks, the game should tell you and explain how to play against her. The next thing I wanted to talk about is always a hot topic in the community, and that is slugging. If there's one thing people do not like, that is having control taken away from them when playing a video game. Slugging is when a killer downs a survivor and leaves them on the ground for a long period of time, either to bleed out or to focus on another objective. So how do we fix this? My answer is base kit Unbreakable. I know, this sounds absolutely broken, but hear me out. The current version of Unbreakable takes 24 seconds to pick a survivor up, and in Dead by Daylight, 24 seconds can mean a win or a loss. So I do think that 24 seconds is a fair amount of time. To not make this too annoying to go against, I would say the base perk deactivates when the game reaches endgame collapse. As for the regular Unbreakable perk, I would say it could activate after 18 seconds once per trial and can still be used during the endgame collapse. Since we talked about slugging, I say it's time to go over my fix for gen rushing. Since we're already doing base Unbreakable, I say let's do base Corrupt Intervention. I think a weaker version of Corrupt being base kit could do wonders for some of the weaker killers in the game. Currently, Corrupt Intervention blocks 3 generators for 120 seconds. I say that the base kit version should block 2 generators for only 60. This would definitely help setup killers and killers with less mobility not fall extremely behind. This also isn't really that big of a change, so it really shouldn't make already broken killers that much stronger. My next topic is the grinding and perk system, which somehow gets longer with each update. Almost 10 years after the game's release, and we still have to level and grind for each perk on different killers. Which is why my fix for this is simply just getting rid of perk tiers. I've heard this idea bounce around a lot, and I actually think it's a really good one. It's already hard enough to get all perks on all characters as is, let alone needing to worry about tiers. In addition to removing perk tiers, let's lower the total amount of blood points needed to reach level 50. In my opinion, it should be no more than 1 million blood points. I think that that's the perfect amount, considering especially how long it takes to level a character from scratch. I say 1 million is just fine. Also, I think it's well past the time to get rid of the blood point cap. Next up, let's talk about the red ranks. Because Dead by Daylight doesn't actually have a ranked mode, a lot of people consider the red ranks to be the closest in-game we can get, which is why I think there really should be a difference between red ranks and regular games. Mainly by limiting offerings and add-ons. Killers should not be able to use more than 1 red add-on at a time. And map offerings, I'm sorry, but you gotta go. A lot of players will simply just try to choose maps that are beneficial to them, and a lot of the time, choosing between a killer offering and a survivor offering is strictly up to RNG. I think that getting rid of some of these elements here would definitely improve the quote-unquote ranked experience. It's kind of been the elephant in the room for a while now, so I say let's talk about tunneling. I think we should introduce a mechanic that after a survivor is unhooked, they cannot be hooked again for 30 seconds. This effect is disabled if the killer downs another survivor or when the game reaches endgame collapse. I would really hate for this feature to be abused, which is why when another survivor is downed by the killer, which is pretty much the opposite definition of tunneling by the way, the effect deactivates. I could really see this working like a reverse throw in Tremors. If the killer does pick up a tunneled survivor, all hooks across the map will be blocked until the time expires or another survivor is downed. For my next big change, I think both killers and survivors should have more than 4 perks. I think that survivors should come with a 5th perk slot. This 5th perk slot would strictly be for second chance or exhaustion perks. This would also work the other way around, meaning second chance perks can only be equipped in this 5th perk slot and not the other 4, aka only 1 second chance perk at a time. This means perks like Dead Hard, Made for This, Deliverance, Decisive Strike, and all the above cannot stack with each other. On the flip side, I want killers to have a similar system in place. Killers should have 2 perk slots strictly meant for gen regression and slowdown. So definitely no more pain res, deadlock, corrupt intervention, and eruption combinations are there. The reason for this change on both sides is these types of perks are often seen as powerful and frustrating. No one wants to go against 4 slowdown blight, and the same thing can be said about the old Made for This and Dead Hard combo. There'd be some creative limits, sure, but I think the promotion in perk diversity is well worth the change. My last change, and easily one of the biggest, is for the endgame collapse. I think endgame collapse should activate with A, all generators are finished and the doors are open, or B, when only 2 survivors remain in the trial. Yep, that's right, I said 2 survivors, not just 1. As per usual, if 2 survivors remain, the hatch will not spawn, and to keep things fair, I would say the 2 remaining survivors should have no more than 2 generators remaining for endgame to activate. Like previously mentioned, both the base cut unbreakable and anti-tunneling systems deactivate once the endgame starts. To balance this out and to prevent endgame slugging, I would say the pickup time for one survivor healing a down survivor is just as fast as an unhook. Instead of just having survivors struggling to finish the last gens or waiting for the other one to die, I think it's way more fun if the exit gates are powered when only 2 survivors are left. To not just give the survivors a free escape and make things a little bit more balanced, if endgame is activated like this, I think the exit gate opening time should be increased. I don't think a lot of people currently enjoy slugging one survivor to prevent hatch from opening and hunting the other one down in the meantime. In my opinion, that's when endgame is kind of really boring. So let's take a second to summarize all the changes to take a look at the bigger picture. For the more neutral and general changes, we said we need more in-depth training guides for both playing and going against killers, no more perk tiers, blood point caps, and 1 million blood points is enough to prestige a killer. We also said no more map offerings for red ranks for either side, and endgame starts when only 2 generators and 2 survivors remain. For the killer changes, we added 2 generator only perk slots, base corrupt intervention covering 2 generators and only lasting 60 seconds, and only 1 red add-on at a time in red ranks. For the survivor changes, we have the 5th perk slot for using second chance perks, base unbreakable, and anti-tunnel hook blocking, both of which deactivate at the endgame. Behavior is usually known for playing it pretty safe. These changes would definitely be a big swing and hopefully the right direction, so let me know what you think down below. Or on the other side, if there's any specific change you'd make to the game or to my fixes, don't be afraid to drop that in the comments as well. As always everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.